JDG able to pick up game number 1 over FunPlus Phoenix. FunPlus Phoenix, they had some fighting words, Clement. Coming into today, they were talking about how after Chinese New Year, they were going to make sure the first game that Jingdong Gaming get back into the LPL was going to be a loss. So far, not on the right track. It's currently 1-0 to JDG.
Yeah, really spicy words being thrown out for both of them, but we do have to call out both of those AD carries were definitely fronting because we didn't see no Kog'Maw from Loken. We also didn't see any Kog'Maw coming out from LWX as well. And I think we can touch more on that point. It's really because of Liu Mao's champion pool so far. I think he has the best champion pool against Kog'Maw players. We talk about things like Bard, which they banned out, and he also has the Leona in his back pocket. So on the third pick from FPX, when they had the choice to go for Kog'Maw, when they already had Tahm Kench, they said, nah, we're a bit afraid of that. They actually went for the Vladimir instead. So Kog'Maw has, interestingly enough, been taken out of this equation.
Which is really surprising because, as you mentioned, both players are ready to play Kog'Maw coming into this match. Bard was banned in that last match. We know that he's a good counter to Kog'Maw, but we didn't see that aggressiveness like the Leona coming out. Is this something that we could expect from Liu Mao to try and pull, and how exactly he's going to be able to shut him down if he does get that Kog'Maw?
Oh, definitely. If you talk about Liu Mao, he's known for really playing super aggressive in the front line and just giving Loken space. So he's really good on those engaged champions, like you mentioned. The Bard and the Leona, they're going to constantly be going in, and I think that is one of their game plans going into this game, is like we can shut down LWX's hyper carry champions with our own picks.
Yeah, especially when you stop him from moving, make sure you can't auto attack, can't sit still and deal that damage. He's going to be useless, but LWX in that game alone didn't get the Kog'Maw, but still had a very poor performance in contrast to Loken, who had a good game on the Kalista.
Definitely. We need to call him out because he's not pressing the buttons he's supposed to. The Flash and the Arcane shift being both up for him in that team fight, and he still gets hit by Zoom. That is inexcusable. And we can really see maybe that's the reason he's not going into the Kog'Maw. Maybe he's not very confident, a bit rusty out of that Chinese New Year break.
Hey, if you're not going to use those mobility spells, you might as well play an AD carry who just stands still all the time. But not working out for LWX in that last match. I'll just see if they do change around their picks for him. And on top of that, FPX, Pepper, we called him out at the beginning of the show. We said he needs to do something. Clid and Yakal work really well together as a mid-lane jungle duo, going for those kill combinations. This match, Clid was playing very well on the Lee Sin, whereas Pepper, we actually didn't see too much from him. It was a very lackluster performance from him.
Yeah, and my biggest criticism of Pepper would be that he has no chill. He has absolutely no chill. If something isn't happening in the early game, he has to go for it himself. And that really resulted in the blue fight we saw right there, where their team effectively got wiped and the early game handed over to Jingdong. If you have a scaling team composition like the Vladimir we saw, and you're going against double immobile carries in the Orianna and the Kalista, I feel like you should just let your team sit back and scale. Sometimes you don't need to be the one forcing the action.
Which is curious, because Pepper in that situation, he had the opportunity to move and help out Gimgoon. If he did, Gimgoon in those final team fights was already looking good in the Vladimir. A little bit of a push, a little bit of extra help would be able to help shut down Zoom, who got MVP. Give Gimgoon that edge he might have needed to deal the damage he had to against Loken and take him down, or potentially help out LWX, who was having such a poor game.
Yeah, and I really think this is kind of the inexperience coming out from FPX. They are a very new team. They're kind of green. They don't really have the patience a lot of times to sit the game out, and Jingdong knows that. Jingdong basically stonewalled them with their picks. They didn't have a coherent composition, but they understood that if they didn't lose laning phase, there was going to be no answer from FPX.
Well, we called out Pepper not being too proactive in that last match. Before the game, we got to speak with him before he went into his match against JDG. Let's hear his words.
我觉得他们对我的执行力的话会比较好，就对于前期的一些 gank 啊，还有一些游走方面会做的比我们会好一点吧。还有就是他们的中单，就新人牙膏的话，最近表现也是可圈可点，也是比较厉害的一个选手吧。对我们队伍的磨合的话，我并不担心我们的目前的一些磨合的一些地方吧，因为我相信我们会越来越好的。
It's actually really interesting to see that Pepper, the thing that he focuses on is aggression. Like, it's like, how is this enemy team going to match up against us in terms of aggression? That's what I want to know. And he's like, oh no, it will be okay, but it's not all about aggression. It's just like that need to do something that feels like was what plaguing FPX in this early game. It's like, we have to get something from this. We need to make something happen. It's like, as Clement was saying, you can just chill for a bit. You can just allow your lanes to win.
It's nice that he knows his strength, but it's also something that he needs to kind of refine. Being able to refine that is incredibly important because we know a whole host of junglers, especially the team that he just came off of, which is RNG with LMLXG, that it's great to be aggressive, know when to kind of play a little back, know when to kind of play your cards and say, okay, it's fine here.
Yeah.
I know that my composition will be much better. I am confident with our form of play. It should all be based around that confidence. And so ultimately going into this next game, he just needs to know, okay, last composition was great, or at least how we were initially playing it out. And I don't think we need to make any compositional changes. We just need to make that mental change.
Though, now you mention it, coming from RNG, where a lot of the plays are based on we can outplay you, makes a lot of sense now I think about it. But FPX versus JD heading into Game 2 for this pick and ban will be Zoe, Azia, and Sion, a ban specifically at Zoom, and Talia and Vladimir towards FPX.
Gotta wonder what Gimgoon wants to play here now that he's banned out that very aggressive, I would say not aggressive, but a really
It's a hallmark pick for
lane-focused
him,
tank.
you know?
Because the Sion is incredibly strong, and being able to play that laning phase out against mid-range champions and then come into these later game team fights and be a menace. So maybe Gimgoon wants to go towards a GP. Maybe he wants to go towards, for me, I'd say a Gnar pick. I wouldn't expect it to be picked really early on because both GP and Gnar are still available. It should still be picked in the first phase because it's going to be definitely nicked out when it gets to the second phase.
Let's see if that is the case. There's a bunch of junglers still up, but the first one will be Jarvan for FPX. So Pepper, I mean, this is his pick. I'm actually very surprised that Jarvan is left open against Pepper, because when we do see Pepper just pop off, it's always on Jarvan.
Yeah, and this is where you need to start getting that brain moving if you're Jingdong, because Galio is up and unavailable, and we know that Pepper has been strong on the Jarvan picks. It makes it a lot easier for them to rotate around these team fights, click R, get on top of them, and then play it slowly around that massive cataclysm. So I like this coming in from FPX, especially going into the second game. First game, it was definitely banned, so they moved towards the Kazakhs. Now that they have it in front of them, I would love to see Bing get himself that Galio and look towards playing that composition.
But look at this, Raz. JD are actually focusing on themselves. They're securing Loken them out the bottom lane first with Kalista and Tam Kench. They're not looking towards the Galio whatsoever, even though that was a pick that we know Yagao can play. He was playing it before 8.2 even. But FPX right now, I think this would be a fantastic opportunity to lock that one in. It is in fact going to be the Xayah though for LWX right now for the bottom lane. And it's going to be the Lovers duo, so actually locking in just the bottom lane, no mid lane pick.
All right, so immediately that's a bot side focus. Looks like win lane kind of centric. Like recognizing that the bottom lane that they're going up against is going to be a little bit tougher. It's going to be great for them having that mage kind of engage support from Rakan. That being said, they shouldn't be expecting to be able to get a hand onto the Galio now going into the second phase. Champion pool has been a basic focus on Bing. What can he actually play if he doesn't have the Talia and the Galio that I was looking towards? This is going to be a big test, especially since Jingdong should just start looking towards banning that out.
You would expect so. Lee Sin was the pickup for Klid in the jungle, so once again gets his hands on a prized champion for himself, and the first ban, of course, is going to be Galio. So we're thinking about it, the teams were thinking about it as well, expected, as you were saying.
So with that being said, I love the fact that the Tam Kench got picked out, just to kind of focus in on what Lu Mao is playing for himself. With that, the laning phase should be just fine, should be well protected, even if it's a bad matchup for themselves. And also knowing how easily he can look to roam. Roaming with Lu Mao, incredibly effective. And so now that he can impact the early game fights, if it's not looking good for Jingdong, of course, looking to save out people, I love the pick for himself. He's been incredibly effective so far in the LPL.
Cassiopeia final ban towards Bing right here, one of the champions that he has performed very well on when he's not playing Talia. So it does kind of funnel him into a potential Rise pick once again for FPX. That was a Gnar ban though, towards the top lane. I'll see what the second one is, because it is starting to signal towards a... oh, that's going to be a Rise ban. I actually wonder where Bing is now going to reach.
Because here's the problem. Jingdong will have the first pick priority. They would have picked Rise if the Rise went through, and suddenly it's FPX that have to pick against it. And so you're like wondering, well, what's our counter pick towards that Rise? It's smart that FPX banned that out entirely. Now remember that Orianna is still up and available. Perhaps it's going to be FPX that picks that up for themselves, but even if that's the case, then there's still, of course, the... I was about to say Zoe, but no, that's been out, the banned out initially. You're really digging in, and maybe we might see the Malzahar once again.
I really do wonder what Bing will pick in that mid lane now, but I think a lot of that banning phase was looking towards this Gangplank right here, because the Gnar comes out, but they can't ban everything that's good against the Gangplank just in case JD pick it on the first rotation, coming back out of those bans. Or JD go for the Ornn themselves. So Ornn is still up if Gimgoon wants it, but you don't really want to put Gimgoon on a tank champion right here. So there is potential for a carry pick now to go into the Gangplank.
Yeah, it might be the Fiora that's been the staple for Gimgoon when he's put in this scenario.
There it is.
Strong pickup for himself. I was wondering because GP was a smart pickup, recognizing that Gnar got banned out. That's usually a great matchup going up against it. So now that he's gone back towards the Fiora, incredibly low win rate, but of course only 6 games being played. You have to question if FPX can play towards their own composition. I was looking towards that kind of simple team fight, engage comp. That's what we saw when it was the Rakan and Jarvan. But then now you're adding a split push element. I want to see if FPX have that added patience, because patience was a problem coming into game 2. Their game 1 was lost based off that, so maybe, it's a big maybe.
It is. Just finished up with some of the housekeeping. So Corki locked in for the mid lane for Bing, and it will be facing down your Gout Kassadin. Now, FPX, we have seen them in that one Fiora win in the entire league. It was that one game. It was the blowout game up against the Shy, where Gimgun completely demolishes the top lane.
True.
And FPX actually played the 1-4 very well. The team was not hyper-aggressive. They actually managed to stay as the 4. They didn't engage, and they allowed the Fiora to push in, win the side lane, and then they managed to win the Baron fight.
I believe that plays fresh in both teams' mind. Of course, the win condition for Jingdong getting to that point, if they can have good enough Baron control later on in the game, that they can set that 1v1 up against the GP. But of course, Jingdong will have done their, done their maths, would have done their recognizing, of course, of the matchup. Adding in the Kassadin is smart, recognizing that they can get themselves, of course, if he holds on to the TP. Early game impact to the Kassadin with TPs, nice. Later on in the game has that split push element. So they don't necessarily have to put the GP up against it. And of course, yes, by the way, Fiora will smash that matchup too. But it gives Kassadin the opportunity to push out mid and look towards impacting that side lane matchup in a 2v1. Because honestly, when we saw that IG game going up against FPX, they had no way to respond to that. Their composition had no ability to impact that in the 2v1 basis, or they'll lose Baron. This gives them that opportunity to not only impact that, but then TP back towards it. And that's much later on in the game. That's kind of the mind games being concocted here. But I like the compositions initially from both teams.
Yes, it's a ways off, but there are tools that JD have in this matchup, which, as you said, IG didn't, and that is a major difference in this one, because this seems like FPX's trump card. When you come in into this one, it's the final pick. It's like, okay, we've got you. You've locked in the Gangplank. We can lock in the Fiora. This is how we win through side laning with the 1-4, but this time, there are multiple ways for JD to play around it, and previously we've seen JD play very well around Gangplank matchups. I think more than almost any other team in the league, they've played exceptionally well. They know how to punish the Gangplank when it's on the enemy team. They know how to alleviate the pressure onto GP when it's on their team.
Well, damn, he's louder than the
feel
actual
like,
crowd.
Yeah, we always need to give him his time on our broadcast.
I respect him.
And a small invade coming in, actually.
They're showing him on the camera. They couldn't get him when he was actually yelling, but you know what? Bless you. We should name him afterwards, or at least ask him what his actual name is.
We've got a face to the voice now.
Yep. Yeah, you're right about the invade coming through. At least a small one.
Yeah, it was just 2 wards, 1 at blue, 1 in that little bush next to mid lane coming in from JD. So just trying to track the early movements of Pepper. And it is worth talking about Pepper once again, if we are just taking a brief look at the keystones. There's Kleptomancy in the top lane for both. And once again, Glacial Augment in the bottom lane, so nothing really out of the ordinary here. But Pepper, this is his job, right? Like, this is the pick that he tells everyone every time he's in an interview, don't give me Jarvan, because if you give me Jarvan, I will win the game by myself. And he's managed to put his money where his mouth is. He has done that multiple times, where he's picked up the Jarvan, he snowballs the early game, and FPX do find map wins.
Yeah, it's going to be impactful for him to be able to kind of get onto the map. Maybe early ganks could do just that, knowing that pre-6 Kassadin could be a very easy target for himself. So, is he going to go for that level 2 gank? Not going to happen. But you have to be worrying about his pathing. I just said it was not going to happen, but where is he actually pathing? He's taking his red buff and his raptors.
He's going on an adventure right now.
Okay, a level 2 shenanigans, my friend.
Right now, the fan vote is who's going to pick up the Game 2 First Blood? Well, currently, Pepper's going in for the invade, so I think as soon as you see Pepper's Jarvan locked in, it's a very easy vote to say probably FPX.
Here's the thing. This is actually FPX getting pushed both mid and bottom side of the map. One thing we didn't talk about was LWX having lethal tempo on the Xayah. So the fact that he can actually get that extra attack speed by initially attacking a champion means that he has the ability to push out a little bit faster. That's a nice little touch to it. It's going to be a little bit risky just because getting lethal tempo means you lose out in the skirmishing power of the 3-hit procs, of course, of press the attack. and the sustain that you would get, of course, since you go towards the crit build and complete footwork. But ultimately, it worked out, at least in the level 2 invade.
If it was just for this play, the 3-pronged assault, getting the triple push down so that you can push into the jungle as well with Pepper, well, it worked, as you said. So picks up that buff onto the blue buff now. And Pepper, we'll see if he's actually able to cleanly triple buff Clid, because he's actually moved towards the bottom lane. So JD would expect him to go topside, but now he's looking for this lane gank.
Ooh, and it's so early into the game, too, that Dong didn't have proper times to be able to put a ward into that bush.
Wow, almost perfect timing. Here comes
Go.
the knock up. The flag and the drag as well is clean, though Lumao will get the flash and save Loken.
That was really unfortunate for Pepper. He uses his flash to kind of extend his jump range to get the knock-up that didn't come out. He didn't have the exact location of where Mao had flashed towards, so he couldn't follow up. So Mao gets out cleanly. Funny enough, even if that had landed, it's a long enough cooldown, of course, for Loken to still be in Mao's belly. That wouldn't have meant too much. So that was a pretty ambitious early game gank in a Tahm Kench lane.
But it was a really scary gambit, because if it doesn't work out, there's another knock-up in the bottom lane. Again, Tahm Kench managed to eat the AD carry. Pepper's going to lose top side of the map, so he loses the blue buff right here to Clid, so it gives time for the jungle to catch back up. So it's a gambit based on the initial play, but one with a very low chance of working out.
Yeah, I mean, 9 out of 10 players put in this position, having to go into the enemy jungle and get the blue buff, would have then went back to their own blue side jungle and could secure the 3 buff take. They didn't do that. Now they're losing out.
Well, Christmas just being chased down right now, but it's the turnaround from LPX chasing Loken back. Heal popped, and now turn around. Has to flash away from the Tahm Kench, who managed to get the stacks up there. But Pepper, he's on his way to the bottom lane once again.
He's in position for this, but he's going to get warded out in this one.
He has been seen. Pings go down. Loken, he's back at half health right now, so yeah, Pepper does choose to back away.
This is the difficulty of purely camping out or zeroing in on a Tahm Kench lane. That's so hard to find any form of gank pressure. Loken, after all of the shenanigans at the bottom side of the map, still has his flash available because he's just utilized Mao's flash or utilized Mao's W to get himself out of these situations. So right now, he's working fine for himself. It's up to Jarvan to actually just move that pressure elsewhere.
Where is he going to move from here? Because it's top lane that is now pretty much uncontested. Clid's unable to go up there with Pepper off the map. And Gimgoon is able to win this matchup and just push into tower. Currently hasn't made a big CS lead, but over time that has gone for his first back. Picked up the Tiamat, will have the pushing advantage into Zoom right now.
Yeah, best thing about the matchup, of course, we haven't talked about it too much, being going up against Yagao, Corki versus Kassadin. We're going to see the reward of it.
Smite comes down. Clid trying to get out of the jungle right now, but Bing moving into the mid lane, jumps over the wall, and the auto attack follows. It will be first blood to Bing.
And that's the reward you get. The mid lane push roams towards Pepper, and Pepper's able to get that gank off. Really earlier on, like 20 seconds before, maybe 30 seconds before that play, they put down 2 pings on the Wolf camp and the Grump. They recognized that that was going to be the next camp that Clid goes for, and they prep for it. It's already such a great kind of advancement to their communications on this team that they recognize what play they're going for 30 seconds in advance. Bing is able to push up the wave just because it's so easy to do just that going up against Kassadin. Roams for it. Clid doesn't see this. The comms doesn't go off. The Corki's nowhere to be seen in the mid lane and gets the kill for himself.
Hey, 66% of the audience who voted that FPX would pick up the first blood, you were correct.
There we go.
Did manage to get it into the jungle there. It's always a safe bet when the Jarvan is in the hands of Pepper right here. But it does seem like the team plays very differently, not just Pepper. When Jarvan has been picked up, like the fact that bot lane specifically looked for the push early on and looking for another knock up here as well. Chris will back away, but Loken taking a bunch of damage. All the lanes are pushing up and then assisting Pepper with his invades, with his plays.
Yeah, I think specific to this game, I think it was just a little bit too cute, recognizing maybe they have done this in a few scrims, just kind of practicing that one out, so I like that. But I would say rather than it just being the Jarvan pick, it's more so if Pepper has the ability to press the enemy jungler, if he has the ability to move in, if he has proper pushing waves, then he will walk in. If you give him an excuse, say, hey, be aggressive, he's going to do it. Being said, you're going to have to watch out.
Yeah, JD we're trying to make a return play on the top side, but does manage to get the lunge in time, so dodges away from Clid, and Yagao will not be able to make the play either, and he's got a mid lane wave to attend to, so he'll want to make his way back.
Trading sides here, sure. Kassadin is able to go top side and kind of push Gimgoon off his own tower, but look at what's happening on the bottom side of the map. Bing is being able to get another blue buff for his own team. Damn.
Wow, Pepper even turns up to this play, so this will definitely be going over. But the smite comes down, so his own blue will be going over to him because it will be Pepper picking this one up. Gets his level 6 off of that as well. Clid still level 5. Bot lane still pushing. So bot jungle is still definitely going over to the side of FPX here.
You have to watch out if you are Jingdong Gaming, just because, of course, this bottom side is losing for themselves. FPX right now, far ahead. They have the skirmishing power, of course, Exhaust, Ignite, by having Spellbook that they can just move to or flash if they feel like they're going to be moving out of the laning phase. So they're going to be pushing up in this lane. And they're going to be looking to chip down that tower. Now, Crisp having Resolve secondary means that he can actually demolish the tower. So if you are constantly working at it, then that's something, it's a bit of a time bomb that Jingdong have to recognize and look to respond to in the next few minutes.
Especially if Bing looks to make a play here with the special package. Move towards the bot side, move towards the top, look for a play, take some out, and then move on to the tower. Could be the first tower of the game for FPX, so they look for it. 9 minutes on the clock, and Infernal was the first dragon. No team has gone onto it just yet. With another couple minutes until they start to make a play.
Yeah, the game's a little bit too, even though it started out a little bit too slow, it's because right now it feels like it's ready to explode at any minute. You have both teams going towards double TP in this composition. And sure, you would say FPX have the movement. They can move towards the bottom side of the map.
Malcolm, and here's the special package play we were just talking about. A flash comes out for Mal once again. Buy one, get one free on that play.
But my worry to that is that Jingdong will have the TPs to be able to answer that. That time they didn't. That's why I like that kind of play coming out of Bing, because TP was down on Yagao. It's going to be coming up very soon. Same with Zoom. But now Bing's going to be able to push up mid. If he tries for that play once more, they'll lose out.
And finally, the bot lane looks to fight back. Clid comes into this one. LPX knocked against the wall, kicked in, comes up with a Feather Storm, but he's
Still
soon to
alive.
go down. Somehow managed to cut away, almost managed to get a kill in return. There we go. Finally, Loken will fall. LV Mao and Clid soon to follow.
Look how explosive this game can get just based off the TPs up and available. This time around, it didn't turn into that. This came to the fact that Bing was just going to be able to move there, of course. Just that one TP. Gimgoon didn't have to use it for himself. Just kept to his own lane. So Bing joins up. Jarvan's already there. And so the play just completely crumples.
It all flips. Multiple kills and the tower going into the bottom lane. LWX gets full gold to himself, 650 gold to that Xayah, accelerating that build significantly. And this is, if this game ends and it goes over to FPX, that's going to be one of the core reasons why a huge gold influx over to them this early on in the game.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about in the last game how impulsive FPX have been. Right? We've been talking about how FPX have been a team that have been looking to make kind of random aggressive plays. This time around, they took the opportunity, they took the chance of what Jingdong were trying to do. Jingdong thought they could look for that play. But Bing had already moved towards the bottom side of the map. Of course he's going to TP there again. He doesn't have a wave to worry about. Cassin is not pushing fast enough. So I feel like they could have waited, been a lot more patient until their TPs came up so they can actually look to respond to that play.
And again, the bottom lane, Loken pushing up by himself. No Mao to be seen. And he'll just fall in the bottom lane by himself. Mao was actually on his way in the river, but he's being caught out by the Jarvan. Cataclysm comes down, buys some time. But that's all it's going to be. 2 more kills over to FPX, and that's an easy Infernal Dragon to follow.
Yeah, it's turning into quite a bit of a snowball because Mao didn't have Flash. So he gets Cataclysm. The timers have already been there, so FPX have timed that, recognizing he's not getting out of there. The death is there. So really unfortunate coming out of Jingdong that Loken just found himself caught off guard.
Gimgoon finds Clid in the jungle. Smite even comes down, but Gimgoon finishes it off. He'll take the Merc Wall for himself. And FPX now moving this pressure towards the mid lane. Yagao jumps in by himself.
Wow.
And has to flash away from this play.
I don't know if I agree that.
Ooh, this is spicy out from Yagao.
So watch out. Bing, if he has his next Q cooldown, he has Flash. He can combo that with an auto and ulti as well. So that's just lethal damage that you kind of have to watch out if you're Gal. He's going to be safe, though.
That was very close. Does manage to protect the tower in the end, but only by the skin of his teeth, so good stuff in the end. And FPX still with this lead. Will go back to base and have to spend a lot of that gold. But if you look to where the kills have gone, 2 kills over to Corki, 2 kills onto the Xayah. You got Essence Reeve already finished, Triforce already finished at 12 minutes, and these are massive spikes this early on into the game.
Yeah, the only way it can get worse is if Xayah gets herself a static Shiv, and then suddenly push potential just gets through the roof, going up against Loken and Yagao, both players, both carries that cannot push waves. Right now, Loken is waiting, hoping that he can get himself through Nan's Hurricane so he can start to contest something. But until then, they're just going to get bullied across the map. Full wave control is going to be on the side of FPX.
And expectations for this game have definitely changed because we were looking towards the top lane. The 1-4 was definitely the strategy we wanted from FPX, but Gimgun right now, he's 20 farm down against Zoom, whereas the rest of the map, you know, from Pepper, from bot lane, from Bing as well, have really managed to open this one up, and even the blue buff, the third blue buff on the map is again being contested. Pushing this one away, Clid pushing up.
They're patient here, waiting for Jarvan to come through, so they're just gonna, they're not too afraid of the blue buff resetting. They just want to push Jingdong completely out of the blue side jungle so they can take control from it. So there we go. Jingdong had to walk away.
Yeah, it's gone down, and Bing is able to move into the bottom side of the map now. It doesn't have the teleport, but will have a flash and a Valkyrie, so is relatively safe against Yagao. Back into the top lane once again, starting to catch up on farm, but now being chased down. This is potential kill pressure here from Zoom. Will land the parlay, and Gimgun has to get out of dodge.
Gimgun's trying to figure out where that third barrel came from. Was doing quite well for himself. He was able to heal for himself in the lane up until he got hit by the barrel, so unfortunate for him.
Tower now being sieged once again in the mid lane, looking for a pick onto Mao. Good stuff coming in from Chris. Triple charm comes in. Managed to gobble up the AD carry, but in comes a Cataclysm. No way did that happen! Fate's Call saves Mao, and everyone gets out alive from JD.
Somehow, someway, Mao survives the burning from Ignite to come out of there. So that's a lot of saving potential coming in from both Tahm Kench and the ulti from, of course, Loken. Still works out. They lose a mid lane tower, but they still at least save their lives.
Yeah, that was really impressive. But yeah, unfortunately did lose the turret, so what that means in the grand scheme of things is that they lose a lot of pressure around the mid side. You can see, look at the vision right now, being pushed up in not only the top side, but also mid. So it does suck, but they didn't lose those kills.
Look at this from Crisp. Really well done. I thought they were just going to focus on Mao, but they had bigger plans. Perhaps it would have been a better idea to just get their full front of the damage onto him. But thankfully, Loken recognizes he can get up out of there, still has flash for himself, and that he can leash Mao over, so he doesn't have to die once more.
Really well played from the bottom lane there of FPX. And, you know, JD at the start of this game, specifically the bottom lane, Loken and Mao were doing such a good job of absorbing a lot of the pressure, but it wasn't nullification in the end. The problem is they tried to make a play right there with Clid, and that snowballed into a negative play, and that's really where the game opened up. And it feels like if they didn't try to make a play, it's almost they went to FPX on that play. They tried to make something happen when they didn't really need to, because Pepper was spending so much time in bottom lane trying to make something happen, but Loken and Mao were absorbing all of it.
Yep. I think that they were just caught off guard by just kind of like the teleport meta.
Yeah.
Sure, there were a lot of teleports in the Spellbook era, but the Spellbook era is usually, well, I have to go back to base and then get a TP for myself, and then I'll be ready for it. But if there's no pre-planning, you just have multiple teleports on the map throughout the entirety of the game, Yagao and Zoom have for themselves, then, well, you have to be cognizant of it. You have to be able to wait for Yagao and Zoom to get that so they can save you. Zoom needs saving for him.
Yeah,
so.
Flag Drag, Cataclysm buys a bit of time, using that stopwatch. In comes Yagao into the play. Pepper pops his own stopwatch, strikes the pose, but now has to try and get away from this gangplank. In comes Crips. The cavalry has arrived and allows them to route JD. Send them back to their tower, route JD, I should say, back to their tower. LP Mao looking to make a play into the mid lane. Rotation comes down. They're trying to get some damage onto this tower, it looks like, but LPX should already be here.
Yeah, maybe even if it's just pushing in, get that extra bit of tempo. Works well for themselves. They just want to find a way to push FPX off of them. So even if it's just a small thing, it works well for them. Yeah, once again, we saw another TP play form up into the top side of the map. I don't think Zoom can survive this. They do need a wave.
Yeah, they need a wave first, and that gives time for Zoom to back away if he wants to. Now they have the wave, but it's a matter of whether Zoom wants to stick in lane now, because he has no one remotely near.
Yeah, they don't even see Rakan sneaking up behind him. Thankfully, he runs out anyways. They could have played Possum a little bit more. Bing could have been hitting the tower and allowed Rakan to move it a little bit behind them. He had the Ghost as well, so he would have been able to catch up in terms of his summoners, but didn't happen.
This would have been the cherry on top of that play, because they were still looking for the tower at the end of the day, so they get that one into the top side, and that's all three outer towers down. And FPX, this is what success looks like for FPX, when step 1 through 5 works out, and then you actually get through step 6, and it works, and then you're able to snowball that lead you have from the early game. This is what we've seen out of the win so far from FPX, even a couple of weeks back, back when they were doing exceptionally well against teams like EDG, like they would get the early game advantage, but then they were able to get through the next steps.
That's true. So now it's finally working for themselves. I think the best thing about it is that I think their composition works incredibly well at what's honestly a very risky low push style from Jingdong. Had Jingdong give themselves a little bit more of leeway, let's say an Orion in the mid lane, just anything, perhaps an Azir, anything that can allow them to get a proper push in the lane, so then maybe Loken can do his thing, wait until he gets a Renan Hurricane. But we're already nearly 20 minutes into the game, and we haven't even seen a Renans just yet coming out of Loken. So they're still in holistic single target damage mode and waiting on Zoom to just use his GP ulti if they ever feel like they're in dire need of pushing the enemy team off of a tower.
Yeah, a lot of stalling going on right now. It's almost similar to Gathering Storm Kalista we saw the other day. It's like, yes, you have Kalista, but that's a problem if you're just trying to scale up with this Gangplank, scale up with this cast, and then Kalista's kind of there, a low-range AD carry in the late game, which doesn't feel good when you're facing down the Xayah at the same time. He's already on 2 items. Trying to accelerate this now into the mid lane, crack open one of those inner turrets. Going towards the mid lane, definitely a little bit ballsy. But in comes the slam and a 4-man push, and it looks like JD not going to be contesting this one. Lockup lands onto Loken, but Mao is just behind him with the Devour ready to go. And lots of damage coming in from Bing as well to send him packing.
Gotta wonder if this is where the line gets strong for Jingdong Gaming. They have the ability to look for a fight, and heal is on Loken, so he should be okay in terms of sustaining for the fight.
LWX having to back away, takes a bunch of chunk damage in from Cleared. Will back away, but that took 5 members to try and protect that play from stopping in the Hibber Tower from going down. So in the side lane, of course, it's going to be Gimgoon down there. Trying to clear out that barrel, so perfect timing. Once again, didn't get it on that one. But still, lots of damage onto the bottom lane tower. That's something now FPX can rotate towards, and they made the play happen in the mid lane with the Herald.
Yep. So this is where the game starts to get a little bit more stickier if you're Jingdong Gaming. Because sure, you look at this, it's like, you know what? Might not be that bad. Zoom was able to out-push, or at least kind of push Gimgoon away from the turret. Still has a bit of combat strength, right? But now Gimgoon is ready to go ham. He has himself the Sheen, and the last time we saw him go towards that Triforce build, he blew up his GP. That's what happens. And right now, FPX have full control top and mid, throwing their incredibly, insanely pushing Static Shift Corki. And of course, LWX, he doesn't have a static shift for himself, but his Runan's Hurricane does just the same. We're able to push that out very quickly for himself. And then they'll just play that Baron game. Play the Baron game, and then leave Zoom on that island, because no one's going to be able to help him. Gimgoon's going to have a good time.
So what are JD Gaming actually playing towards right now? Because they have a Gangplank. Obviously, you're looking towards late game. Like, scale up, get some crit, one-shot the enemy team. That's like the Gangplank dream. But if I'm looking towards Kalista, going to be outscaled. Kassadin needs to look for Assassinate, but his backline's already dead once he jumps in.
Thankfully, this game, they still have some pick potential coming out of the Loken, Throne, and Mao if they find someone a little bit too far out. That's still a possibility that they can go towards. And also, if they can farm up to at least getting Yagao a Lichbane, then he has skirmishing potential, and he can find himself impacting the 1v1 that is inevitable when it comes to Gimgoon and Zoom. So that's the potential that they can go towards. And ultimately, the Baron steal is something that they would want for themselves, because if they can play defensively, turn into a turtle shell, impact the side lane, hope that Gimgoon doesn't tear Zoom apart, and then look for that one key steal, that can send them over that hurdle.
And as you see what JD Gaming looks like playing from behind, it's really what makes a good team, able to play from ahead and play from behind. A pesky Sentinel.
Yep. Probably has another one. Hasn't used a Sentinel very much so far. So just use a little time. Here's what's unfortunate. Kassadin does not have a blue trinket. Has himself the red trinket. If you don't have control on the map, then it's very difficult for you to extend any bit of vision. If you're trying to be in a turtle shell, you want to at least have an extra blue trinket for that Baron. Now they have to play a riskier game. Here we go.
FPX, they have an inkling as to where they are. Flag drag lands onto Clid, and the knockup, and the charm, all the CC. Everything thrown at them. At the very least, able to save Mao with Fate's Call, but the jungler's dead, and what does that signal?
That's a Baron, my friend. Let's go for it. So, yeah, that was the most value you're going to get in a pick. Taking down the Smite steal, which was the core thing that really Jingdong needed. They need a fight now.
Zoom pops the ultimate. LDX is dropping relatively low. They're looking for the fight right now, 4 versus 5, but GameGoon, he's already fast into this play. Managed to charge up the riposte, blocks a bit of damage. In comes Yagao, pops 2 players right in front of him. Now chasing down onto the AD carry. LWX flashes out of the pit, picks up a kill. Now Zoom in a 1 versus 2, but he's being kited away. Can't get out of the double daggers, and LV Mao cannot trade up against Pepper. It's a 4 for 2 trade.
Find yourself stuck in the pit. And sure, Zoom did a lot of good in that fight, but that was just a lost fight from the very beginning. Clid hanging his head a little bit in shame, recognizing that all of his friends are dead, and they don't have Baron. So that's going to be really unfortunate, knowing that 3 Baron buffs on the top of FPX. They're going to be coming back onto the map, and I honestly do not know how Jingdong are going to be trying to stop this.
FPX has just drawn even further ahead because of that fight. I thought it was going to start rolling. Yagao gets the pick, maybe the resets are going to happen with presence of mind, but didn't happen in the end.
So I love the fact that Gimgoon backed away to find himself the TP opportunity. They knew they just needed to secure the Baron fight and to have the numbers game. And sure, he gets aced out, but that just means that both Bing and LWX are completely untouched up until the point Cassidy finally finds himself towards the back line, and that's way too late. So there we go. You gave enough space for LWX and Bing to get the damage across, and they ultimately win the fight just because of that.
The 2 big AD carries in the late game, both 4-0-4 right now. Crack open the mid lane tower, Inhibitor soon to follow, and JD going to be very much an uphill battle for them to even pull back into this game, but they haven't barely gotten anything in this game. Like, it's 2 kills off being a perfect game currently for FPX.
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, at this point in time, you have to really imagine FPX just completely dropping the ball. What would that look like? I mean, they still have the Tahm Kench Kalista, so there's always that bit of hope. There's still Clid with the playmaking potential of having that Lee Sin kick. The splash kick, the trinket kick, or the tracker's knife kick. Anything is still available to him. He just needs to find anything to find that effectiveness in the game. He's 0-3-0, and that one play can push them back into the game.
Top tower, last remaining inner turret right now, alive for JD Gaming. It's going to be an easy takedown for FPX as they move towards another inhibitor tower.
All right. Here we go.
Yep, they need to draw the line somewhere. Where's it going to be? Is it going to be here? Is it going to be the Nexus turrets? At some point, they need to do something. The FPX are going to take down another inhibitor tower, another inhibitor on top of that. In comes the Gangplank ultimate, looking for a potential of an engage. LWX is dropping low, hits the Feather Storm, hits the panic button, but he's down. Great damage in from Zoom right now, and FPX, they have to turn this one around, but Yagao somehow managed to stay alive. 3 deaths on that side. Comes in with a quick poke, and Pepper, he's all by himself in enemy territory, tries to make it towards Gimgoon. He's actually doing it on the bottom side. A 3 for 2 trade, and JD Gaming do manage to push them back for now.
It was a wonderful fight from JD. That's what they needed to be able to get for themselves, and it was all because LWX got chunked down to about, what, 40% HP? That's when you send this go signal across. And remember, you're still going up against some assassins here. Of course, specifically Yagao and the Kassadin, and the ult that we saw from Clid. The execution from Clid and Yagao in that fight were exceptional.
Made a dragon dying once more for FPX right there. They'll take that one back to base with them. And the last dragon before Elder Dragon will be Infernal. So FPX will be very happy with that result. And they took so much from that push. There's an open inhibitor, there's an inhibitor down as well.
So he starts off with the ulti just to basically slow them down. Look how much damage they're able to go down onto LWX. The moment he's able to get back, boom, gets demolished. So from this point forward, I don't know how you're going to be able to save this fight if you're FPX. They're not going to be able to. Sure, Pepper's at least able to get that one execution off on Kalista, so that's something. They can't completely push out the waves. So that's something, but they have to play a lot more safer going back if they want to be able to take the next inhibitor tower in the top side of the map.
Yeah, Pepper definitely got 2 miraculous kills there at the end of the fight, but still the wave is being set up here by the Fiora, and everyone is leading in from behind as well. Top inhibitor is still alive, so it means that Yagao, taking the time to push this wave out, will buy a little bit more time for JD. So doing the right things, making the right steps. It's just FPX is so far ahead right now is the major issue for FPX.
Yeah.
Or JD, rather.
Right now, FPX, you're right, having themselves... They're scaling quite well, of course. Corki having himself a lot of damage. Right now, he's looking towards the next... I would assume the next static shiv item, going towards a rapid fire cannon. That would be really good for him. But one thing that I want to kind of point out is the fact that Pepper has recognized that LWX is the sole strength for their fights coming into it, that he's actually built up a Knight's Vow for him. So he's going to be making him just a little bit tankier, just in case he finds himself getting poked out a little bit. The burst damage is going to be important coming out of Jingdong Gaming, so that could be a worthwhile purchase.
FPX now pushing into this last remaining inhibitor turret. Zoom is pretty much on him to try and clear out these waves as best he can. As the ultimate being used, and actually looking for the engage on top of that. Crisp, he's gone very deep right here with the ultimate. Gimgun needs to back away as well. He's actually straggling behind. This might be a potential kill here for JD. Lau goes forwards. Massive knock-up coming in from Pepper. Cataclysm to follow. Down goes Clid. LV Mao, he's trying to make it out. Lumao making it back behind his tower. Keep saying LV Mao, but it's definitely Lumao. In comes the wave now as well, and with a kill, it seems like this tower should be falling.
Yeah, because Loken and Mao have to go back to their, well, I guess fountain, to be able to heal up for themselves. It's enough time for them to take down the second inhibitor. Ooh, oh my
Yagao jumps forwards, pretty much suicides into 5 players, and now there's no more mid laner.
That might just change the priority for FPX. They were moving towards the third inhibitor, now they're just going to look for the game.
Yeah, they were thinking maybe we just need to go for another push, but not going to happen if we can just get the mid lane down. Going to be the save on the AD carry there for Loken, but double Nexus turrets down, and Crisp, he'll back up, but it's all eyes on the Nexus currently. Crisp will just go in, buy a bit of time as he can focus down on the Nexus, and FPX, they even up the series. We're going to a game 3.
Beautiful response from FPX. Started in the draft, had a lot of push, and honestly, they recognized that they can be confident in that. Taking that extra step back was incredibly crucial. I think Jingdong going into game 3 will take a note from that, because a bottom side fight is still a bit of an enigma, because all I'm asking for is taking a few seconds, a little bit of a step back, because they still required the TPs from Cassidy. They didn't have it, they lost the fight, they lost the tower, they lost the mid lane tower. It just turned into a constant snowball based off that.
And at a certain point, there is a correlation between Pepper's Jarvan and them winning games. Like, at a certain point, you just say, we're going to ban it away or take it away and just pick up the 2-0 win right here. But they gave it over. Some of it was Pepper. It was definitely coming up from the lanes as well. But one or the other, eventually a correlation does start forming.
It's just an attributing factor. That's all it really is that you have the Jarvan for yourself. He has a strong early game. That's nice. But then you get into the later portions of the game, and it is a very easy go button to be able to send out that ulti. If you recognize the flash timers, especially earlier on in the game, they're only really able to get the Tom Kench kill just because they recognize that he doesn't have flash. You use your ulti on him, he's dead. So it felt easier for them to pick up fights going on to the later portions of the game. And I mean, if you're Jingdong going to game 3, there's a reason you banned out the Jarvan in game 1. They might just do that again.
Yeah, I mean, the key really there was that FPX were able to get over that hump that they find themselves in the early game. It's like not only did the play work out in the first place, but then they were able to snowball that into the next step and then go from tower to tower, from objective to objective, and then end up finishing the game. And that's not something we always see from FPX, is that they'll start fumbling. They'll go for a 2v2, even from when ahead, and then maybe the skirmish doesn't work out. And that's the problem that really arises for FPX.
That's true, and I think that this was a time where we look towards LWX and say that he had a stellar game, because when they look towards those fights, he was able to finish them off. I think that his early game itemizing and how he played that team fight really made the difference in what was over-aggression and just the right touch.
Yeah, it really did. So good stuff in the end from FPX, managing to bring it to a game 3. For game 2, though, we are going to send it over to the analyst desk to take a look.
Thank you, gentlemen. We criticized FunPlus Phoenix quite heavily before we went into that match, and they delivered coming into game number 2. But I really want to bring it back to picks and bans here, Clement, because this time around we saw 7 mid lane bans come out, and it was a questionable picks coming into the mid lane between the Cassidy and the Corki.
Yeah, I really do have to say, I feel like this was kind of a ban pick loss from Jingdong's side. They went so ham on trying to target out Bing. They were going like, hey, we have Rookie of the Year in Yagao, and who is this Bing guy? We're just going to take everything away from him. And when they came to the last pick, the coach turns around and asks Yagao, was like, what do you have left? Like, I have Cassidy. And this is such a weird ban pick phase, because if you look at Red side, you typically think their 4th pick and their 5th pick are very strong picks. But in this scenario, even on the Red side, their 4th and 5th picks were both countered. So it was kind of it was a big loss coming out of the draft phase. And it really led into Jingdong losing mid control. This is something that we have to emphasize for this team because this is their early engine. This is how they win games. And you can see what happens when the other team can shut down Yagao. Corki, the great matchup, able to assist Pepper in the jungle as well. And that really kind of snowballed the game.
Exactly that. It's not just the focus for Jindong Gaming in the mid lane, but it's also how teams have been able to shut them down and pick up the victories over them in the series. We saw Doinby do it, we saw Rookie do it as well, and now we've been able to see Bing step up really well in game number 2, did well on the Corki, was able to facilitate those mid lane movements, but across the map, there were many big players from FunPlus Phoenix in that match. LWX, we criticized him heavily in game number 1. Game number 2, he steps up. We heard it from Raz as well as Pulse earlier when they were casting, but we have a big highlight play coming out from the Baron play as well. LWX really turns up the heat.
This one's super juicy. Remember right now that FPX already have the jungler dead from Jingdong Gaming, so 5v4 situation. However, at the start of the fight, it doesn't look so clean cut. Like the Gangplank ultimate comes down, and a lot of low health members here, even a member going down from FPX. But here, watch this. The E-Flash coming out from LWX manages to change course mid-Blade Caller and pick up 2 kills. Like, the mechanics, the execution, and just those highlights really show you, like, what caliber of player LWX is. And we have to remember, this is the only one of the 3 players in the LPL so far that has a pentakill.
On top of that, LWX did not only perform well during that one play, but throughout the game, he was very solid for the team. Something we criticized him for throughout game number 1. Moving to game number 2, he's really stepped up. Hopefully, we can continue to see that from him for the rest of this series. But finally, Pepper. We said he did nothing in game 1.
Yeah.
Pepper got Jarvan. Not only got Jarvan, he got MVP as well for game number 2. And he was crucial in helping out FPX.
Going super aggressive early game, taking away that 3-buff start, and a lot of it does come from the help from the mid lane when they get a good matchup, allowing him to go super aggressive. And you can see why this team, constantly on the blue side, if Jarvan is not fanned away, they will first pick it every single time, because this is Pepper's main champion. And we can really see it's not just about like the aggression, the early boost it gives him, it's also about like the gank execution. A lot of times I feel like when he has the Jarvan, he's a lot cleaner on that gank, and he doesn't force as much.
Yeah, and it seemed like he still was a little bit nervous
Yeah.
at the start of the game, but he got his foot firm on the ground, was able to know exactly what he needed to do on that Jarvan, and help FunPlus Phoenix pick up that game number 2 victory. We're going to go into a very short break, but we'll be back with game number 3 in just a bit.